In today's lesson, we are going to learn how to add a pair of numbers in your head. So we're going to learn a couple of different strategies to enable you to be able to add a pair of two-digit numbers specifically in your head. So the first thing we might do is to partition our tens and ones. So for example, if I had the number 34 and I needed to add the number 45, I might want to partition my tens and my ones. So for example, I could think about adding my 30 and my 40 first to make 70, and then I could think about adding my ones, so my 4 and my 5, which make 9, and then I could put my numbers back together, which makes 79. Or another way I could do it is I could keep my first number, 34, and first of all, just add on the tens to make 74. What about the other answer? And then I take this number (74) and I add on the 5, which makes 79. Okay, both ways work. Sometimes people like to put the larger number first. So let's use a different number. And let's say, for example, we have 26 and 53. Sometimes with adding, you can swap the numbers round without it making a difference to your number. So sometimes people take the larger number and then you could add on the tens, which brings you to 73. And then you could add on the ones, which brings you to 79. Okay, or remembering what we did earlier, we could do 20 and 50, add our tens, and 6 plus 3, add our ones. So we have 70 and 9, which makes 79. So that's one way you can add pairs of numbers. Now we're going to go to another method. And this method I'm recommending because let's think about when we might need to add a pair of numbers. So in maths, there may be a time when you've got a word problem and you're asked to add a pair of two-digit numbers, but often you're asked to add using a written method. However, when you get up to year 5, you'll start to do long division using larger numbers. And one of the first things you need to do is to make a list of multiples. So for example, if you had to do 3,854 divided by 28, one of the first things you'd have to do is to make a list of multiples of 28. And to be able to do that efficiently, you need to be able to add pairs of two-digit numbers. And this is something I see lots of children get stuck on. So let's imagine we were making our list of 28, multiples of 28. So I'm going to make a list down the side. Now you actually only need the first 9 when you're using long division, but I'm going to go up to 10. So you would need to make a list from 28, and I know what 10 lots of 28 is. It's 280 because of my understanding of place value. When I times something by 10, everything shifts along one space to the left. But I need to fill in all the numbers in between. Now, you could use the method we used earlier, which is if we're adding 28, you might add on the 20, that's 48. Add on the 8, which is 56. So you could do it one at a time, or add on the 8 first. Add on the 8 is 64. Add on the 20 is 84. Okay, so each time you might add on the 20 and then add on the 8. So add on the 20, 104. Add on the 8, 112. You might do it like that, okay? And you could continue and you can decide. So for example, this one, I would probably add on my 8 first and then my 20, because I can see it's 112 and I know that that 12 plus my 8 is going to be a nice round number. 112 add my 8 is 120. Add my 20, it's 140. And your 5th number is always half of your 10th number. Okay, so let's have a look at another strategy. So you could add on your 28 or your 2-digit number by separating your 2s and your 1s. Or let's go for another method. The other method would be to use your times table and your place value knowledge. So I'm going to think about my adding on of 28 as 20 and 8. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a list of my 20 times tables, and then I'm going to make a list of my 8 times tables. Actually, I'll do my 8s first because I know my 8 times tables. So 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, join in if you would like to, 48, 56, 64, 72 and 80. We don't need to go past 10 lots if we're using this method for long division, which is often something that a time when we would need this skill. Now I'm going to do my 20 times tables. Now, do you know your 20 times tables? You might not know your 20s, but you do know your 2 times tables. And 20 is just 2 10s. So 1 times 2 is 2, and 1 times 20 is 2 10s. 2 times 2 is 4, but 2 times 20 is 4 10s, which is 40. So 2, 4, 6 10s, 8 10s, 10 10s, 12 10s, 14 10s, 16 10s, 18 10s, and 20 10s. Okay, so 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140, 160, 180, 200. And then I simply add them. So you can imagine the 2 numbers as arrow cards. And if you've watched my earlier videos on mental calculation strategies and place value, you'll know what arrow cards are. So we imagine the 10s and the 1s overlapping. So my 20 and 8 is 28. My 40 and 16, well, 40 and the 10 is 50, and my 6 is 56. 60 and 20 is 80, plus my 4, 84. 80 and 30. Now, if you get stuck with this one, count up in your 10s. So 80, I'm going to put 3 fingers on my hand to represent 3 1s. So I'm starting with 80. I'm going to show you 3 fingers here. Start of 80, 90, 100, 110, plus my 2, 112. 100 plus 40 is 140. 120 plus my 40 is 160, plus my 8 is 168. 140 plus 50 is 190, plus my 6 is 196. 160 plus 60. So again, if you can't do 160 plus 60 very quickly, put 6 fingers on your hands. I'm going to do 6 tallies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I start with 160, 170, 180, 190, 200, 210, 220, plus my 4, 224. 180 plus my 70. It's going to take 20 to get me to 200, and then I've got 50 left from my 70. So 250 plus my 2 is 252. And then my 200 plus my 80 is 280. And that is one way that you can create a list of multiples, really useful for long division. So we're really just thinking about partitioning our tens and our ones in different ways. You can simply add on your ones, then your tens, or in this method I've shown you, separate your tens and ones, calculate them separately, and then recombine them. Do you think you're ready to give it a go with some questions? Have a go at these. On your left, you have some pairs of numbers to add, and on your right, could you make a list of the first 10 multiples of 24, 35, etc.? So what comes after 24? If you keep adding 24 on, can you make a list of doing that 10 times? So have a go using some of the strategies that we've looked at today, and I hope it's helped you and you've learnt something new. If you've enjoyed this lesson video, then please have a look at our website where you can sign up for access to loads more free resources to support maths learning in Key Stage 2. So that's years 3 to 6.